How do your generation sees this conflict right now?
You'll grow up. You will see.
We had Russia-Moldova war ourselves. It's complicated, but we have Russian troops in there.
Hey, we don't want you. Fuck you, go away.
Where is the freedom of speech? Where does it end?
I try to manipulate you sometimes with my opinion. perfect sentence I can tell you right now. I fell in love when I read it.
Hello, my name is Luminica.
And my name is Angelika.
And we present you the Post-Soviet Sisters podcast.
Here you're going to be a part of a sister talk.
Today, God knows we planned to start this podcast with a different topic, but because we are in the middle of a war, there is the Russian-Ukrainian war going right now, we decided that it was important to start off this podcast with this topic. And because we don't know where the situation will be when this podcast is released or this episode is released, and because we both are not politicians and we're not part of military.
By far.
Yeah, so we thought we want to bring our contribution to this topic, and we will do this by showing you the human side of this conflict. We're both from Moldova, and yes, it's not Ukraine, yes, it's not Russia, but Moldova is very much a country next to Ukraine. We have a common border. And if you didn't know, we have Russian troops in Moldova for already 30 years. But we will talk about this a little bit later. And it is important for us as two girls from a post-Soviet country to show you, the people that come also from Eastern Europe, that we are here and we want to share with you our stories. Maybe if you have a similar experience, you can definitely let us know. And if you're watching us on YouTube, in the comment section down below. If you're listening as a podcast, then you can find us on our social media and share everything over there. And if you're from Central, Western Europe or America, and right now you are far away physically and I guess emotionally from this conflict, maybe this talk will show you that beside all the strategies and bombs and all the politicians and tweets, there are actually people over there, and they suffer, and it is something that a lot of people forget, and we want to remind you about that. And today, to start it off, I thought it's interesting to look at our perspective with Angelika on this topic, because we have a 9 years difference, age difference.
Almost 9.
8 years and 10 months, as my sister loves to say. And I was thinking, because our generations, they went through different experiences, which means we have different expectations and also different opinions about what's going on in the world generally. And your generation was actually born in the Soviet Union. So you were born in the Soviet Union. Yes. And you were raised in a very fresh country, post-Soviet country. You have a lot of friends in Russia or from Russia. And I know that you have a more emotional connection to Ukrainians and Russians in general, whether my generation is very much Europeanized or Americanized, because we were born in a post-Soviet country, but it was already independent. We were watching American television already. We were raised with European Union values. And I think that we see this conflict much more harshly from this point of view, because I know a lot of people my age that hate Russia and hate Russians. And when I was a child in school, some parents were forbidding some children to learn the Russian language because there was so much hate based on the history. And so I was wondering, how do you see the conflict from how do your generation sees this conflict right now?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that we wanted really to start this podcast by not discussing about war. The main reason was to bring to the light our discussions, which we have drinking Aperol Spritz sometimes, and I think this is I think this is something that somebody can learn and see another opinion and see how a sister talk can, there are a lot of interviews about it, there are a lot of documentaries, very beautiful documentaries, but I've never seen a format like Sister Talk on any platform. I bet there is one. But I think this is such an insight where we are not obliged to say anything. We are not forced to think the way others think about our difference. In which family we grew up. Our parents never tried, at least for me, and I bet the same was for you, they've never forbidden us to speak Russian or something like this. I know what you're talking about, but I'm 33 right now, so I realized how intelligent our parents were, so they didn't forbidden us to speak Russian because it helped me throughout my whole life, as well as my another mother language, because I have two of them. You're not a part of the story which I'm going to tell, but I have two mother languages. I speak the same Russian and I speak the same Romanian, and I can read and I can listen and I can talk and I can dream in both languages equally. It is really, I'm bilingual and this is the way it is. I've never had an accent. Well, somebody maybe in Moscow can say you have an accent in Russian, but it's because that Moscow people, they have this specific talking, they have this specific way of talking. And I'm very grateful and thankful for my parents, our parents, they didn't made this black and white difference, although our mom told us a lot of stories, like Russian speaking colleagues when she was working in the medical field, like they were superior during the Soviet Union because they were considered to have a better education, a better, something, they were better, considered to be better, but they've never, and I'm grateful again. I still feel sometimes this difference, when I'm talking to somebody and I'm, like Russians, they have this very different feeling, what they, like they are powerful, they are power, which is not a surprise. They are like a very huge country already, so they don't need another part, but okay. I'm sorry to tell this. Yes, I have a lot of friends in Russia and in Ukraine. My childhood's best friend lived in Kiev until yesterday, and I'm very sad to start this podcast by this subject, I must say. And I've read a lot on social media that a lot of people are telling we don't want to be part of this, this panic, and so we don't make any videos and any subjects what concerns the war. But I think, and as well as I'm married with an European man, and we're currently yesterday and today discussing in the family. No, I just want to tell you that another part of the of the discussion, because everything in this life is not black and white, I think, and the Europeans and the family where I'm married in, they think totally different as I'm thinking and even as you are thinking, they tell, okay, we cannot risk for some million people to NATO, for example, now to get in and to start a third world war. And while they are discussing all this, I think the tragedy is not big enough for somebody unless this tragedy does not touches this person in like individually. And I we are not politicians, as we said, and I cried all these days, and not because and I thought I bet I would talk to you differently 2 years ago, since I'm a mother since 2 years now, the whole story, the whole biography, and I have a little son who is 2 years old, and I am today talking from another perspective as I would have talked 2 years ago. Of course, I'm emotional seeing like mothers and their children hiding in cellars and trying to escape the bombs, I'm very sorry. What I can say, I don't know. Did you follow some news in Russian-speaking part these days?
A little bit, because there is this channel. They are Russian. There's a Russian channel, but they are very open-minded. So because they are in Russia, they have to translate some news, Russian news. But at the same time, all the people that come to their channel, they are saying their minds. So there are some certain things that they have to say, and there are certain things that they say because they think so.
So this is the plus. And please, if somebody is right now thinking whether to teach their children the second language, for example, you're a Mexican living in USA and you have a child, please don't hesitate to learn your child English and as well as Mexican Spanish, because you have so much more opportunities when you speak different languages. Because these days, I cannot say who is right and who is wrong. For sure, the basic idea, there cannot be a right or wrong when somebody's dying. But at least civil people, because when you're a military, okay, you don't want to die, but you signed up to this and you're ready. But when you're like a citizen,
Yeah,
like,
civilian.
you cannot, and this was the big plus for me as well, because I've looked at Russian part of this story, and I've seen the Austrian part of the story. I'm living in Switzerland, and I've not seen the Switzerland opinion on this story, because Switzerland is a very specific part of the continent throughout the history, I can say. But the opinions and the feelings, and they're completely opposite.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say about this story is that you can not tell your opinion on this situation. I'm sure about this, if you're not there, because only by listening and because like as a media, why does online boom right now? Because the normal television lost its its trust.
Yeah.
So everybody, I hope everybody that television is very much manipulated, and it has a lot of restrictions.
But also
no
newspapers.
Matter in what country, if it's Germany, if it's Russia, if it's Moldova, it's Africa, bad. There is, some subjects you are not allowed to talk about. So I think this is why online was booming, because it looks like online is getting regulated as well, as we've all seen for Twitter, for Donald Trump. It doesn't matter if you're a fan or not a lover of Donald Trump.
No, but Meta today announced that they will start to delete posts that have any hate speech or something. I mean, from one hand side, I can understand hate speech is bad, but on the other side, where is the freedom of speech? Where does it end? Who decides what is bad and what has to be deleted and what shouldn't be deleted? Like,
I think if we would talk about this, two of us, and a third person would come, then we would have a third opinion, about this story. And this is so complicated, everything. Another thing I've learned throughout my years, the age, is that you cannot, and please think about this, at least for 1 second. I've told you this several times, do not judge, because you never know what anybody, unless, it's very obvious, but you never know why this person acted. When I was 20, in my mid-20s, I was like, okay, this girl is a bitch today, so I put a stamp on her, and this was the bitch for the life, and I didn't like that name, for example, Anna or something like this. Everybody else who was Anna was not a good person for me. But then I seen on my own example that today maybe happened something and this person is not in the mood, or in my life happened something, so you have this very sensitive opinion about some subject. So you never know really. And I cannot judge people who are today, while talking about the war, who are in Ukraine and say, please, we love Russians, we want them to come, because there are some in these parts, and there are another part who says, okay, we don't want you, fuck you, go away. Because, it's very complicated. I don't know, we ever can say... the only thing I will never understand people who who burned children and adults while the Second World War. I will never understand this. Some of them, I've studied this subject a lot. This was a part of my life when I read a lot about this, and I have documentary and a lot of things, and a lot of them are saying, well, this was we had to, because otherwise we would die. And myself, I would choose to die as to send these children. There is a good book, by the way. It's called "The War Has Not a Female Face." Mm-hmm. I bet it's not the right translation.
I think it should be.
But if you Google it, you will find it.
Yeah.
And I've read this book. This book was forbidden in Russian, I think maybe in Soviet Union, and I bet in Russia as well.
It's by a Belarusian, right. Belarus
and this book
writer.
Is about about the stories of women in the Second World War, not about the men glory and to fight and something, but about the stories of women. And I was shocked because these are like a lot of stories put together. And at that time, the grandma of my husband was still alive. She passed away when she was 91. So we went to her, and I tried to ask her about her vision of, because she was in another part. We were on the Soviet part, and these women was on the opposite part in the Second World War. And listen, she told me the same stories.
Yeah.
And please believe me that, she told me the same stories, but in another language, like the same stories I've read in Russia. She told me the same stories in German language, and I don't know. It's very sad what's happening. It's very sad. It's very sad.
One way or one reason why we thought it was important to discuss this topic is because we had Russia-Moldova war ourselves. And if you don't know, we have a region, Transnistrian region, and it was a big fight over there, whom does this part of Moldova should belong to. And ever since then, this part has a special status. It is kind of a country, but it's not really recognized. So it's complicated, but we have Russian troops in there. So I think a lot of people from Moldova, first of all, they're afraid of this war in Ukraine because it's next to us. And second of all, we have Russian troops in the country. So that's not so far away. And Moldova is not big. So from that region to Chisinau, the capital, I don't know, there are 2 hours with the tank. I don't know. So I think a lot of people are afraid of it. And this war happened actually when you were already born. You were a little baby. I'm not sure if you remember anything about it.
Fortunately, I don't remember it because I'm born, 1988 in November. But I'm a 7-month child, so if I would be on time, I would be in 1989. But it doesn't really matter. So in 90, I was 2 years old. I don't remember literally anything. But look at this. She looked into her script to say that the war started, this invasion, that the Russian troops came to Moldova. You had to look for this.
Yeah.
And there are this is the difference because between our generations, because I know it. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah. I was born way later. That's why for me it's history.
Yes. So I know it, and I don't remember it because we were living not at that part, not there. But what can I say? Our uncle, he was he was like willing himself to go to Afghanistan, the brother of our mother, and as you can see, and nothing good happens to these people who are who are taking part in a war, no matter if they are
Voluntarily
they won or
or
if they lost. Or this is what when 2017 I was visiting. I was in USA, and I was there on the Memorial Day. You know, this is a huge, you know, like a very important holiday there. And we visited some memorials, and you know, we found out that there are a lot of help for soldiers after coming from war. You know, like of course, if it developed, it was not from the beginning there. This you know, this thing that was developing a lot of years. But I think this is so important. Now we have, you know, again, if we come back to the subject of the war, it's sad and tragic and everything what's happening right now, but it is already here. We will not reverse it. It's already happening. So I think we have to say, okay, it will run the way it is going to run. No one knows how it will end, when it will end, and so nobody. But what we can do, at least try to be, you know, the problem is in the post-Soviet story is that people solve the problem when it was there. You know? We never, you know, tried to develop anything beforehand. And now I think is the right point, as absurd as it can sound right now. It's important to start right now building this help for those guys from Ukraine, from Russia, it doesn't matter, who was in war, because this is you know, like, these are generations what are going to be affected. These are
because really young men right now are also part of, young men and women are part of the military service.
Yes, this is the thing I would definitely try. I didn't tell you about this until now, but I am not sleeping a lot these days, and I'm not sleeping because, as I told you, my best childhood friend was living in Kiev, and she wrote me yesterday that she is running away from Kiev, and she maybe will have to immigrate and maybe go to Moldova, and we are trying to organize everything for her, you know, so that she can, you know. This is a very sad story, and by God, I know that nobody is going to win from this situation. Really, nobody. I'm sure if you speak to not a lot of Russians, not all of them, but a part would say, okay, we have Crimea, we didn't want them, actually. We had only listen, there are a lot of pro and contras about all this story. Nobody will win, because if you look, my husband is working in economic sector, and he told me beforehand, by the way, that the stock market is reacting the way as if a war is going to come. And I was listen, you will be very surprised. This is really true. The stock market can predict that something is coming. It cannot predict, okay, listen, it will be a tsunami, or it will be a war, or it will be a virus or something like this. But it predicts really that something is going to happen next days, you know. And he told me, listen, look at the economic. I know, you know, not a lot of us have access to this information, and it is very expensive, by the way, to get really real information. Not like I've heard there, or somebody told me this, or something told me that. And I think that he told me, look, they need weapons, they need I don't know, aluminium, they need that and this, and you know, I think all these superpowers on this earth are going to enrich themselves this way.
Yeah, definitely. I think because you said that I looked at the date, and when I was thinking right now, this war is the very first. Like my generation didn't experience anything super major and global. There was 9/11, but we were like I was little. I don't remember much.
Yeah.
And then then there was coronavirus. That was the very first thing that was so impactful that our generation lived through. And we panicked back then because we didn't know what it was. I remember our parents, they were much more relaxed at the beginning than I was, because
our parents are relaxed and
yeah, but generally, I think like their generation was more relaxed than mine and your generation, because they knew more or less how it was. And my generation right now with this war, this is the very first war in Europe that I witnessed, that my colleagues witnessed. I think this is not only about me and the European side, but I looked at the footages of the protests in Moscow and St. Petersburg yesterday. And the majority of them were young people. Of course, there were different ages, but I like all the bloggers, or the majority of the bloggers, they were really young. And I think this shows also that even my generation in Russia is different in this sense. Even my generation in Russia is not really that supportive of the regime. And even my generation in Russia is not supporting the war.
I think we can tell these things when we are going to visit Russia. Because, listen, I remember a lot of my friends. I have really, some friends in Russia. And I remember them supporting their powerful politicians. Like 10 years ago, and then it started. Like, I cannot tell about the whole Russians. I can tell you the experience with my friends, and with the time they're like, the next level was okay, maybe something is going wrong, and with the time some of them told no, everything is going right, we are good, and some of them, like, they turned to be the opposite and told listen, this is crazy, we don't want it anymore.
I think this happened because the younger generation, they're a lot on online. Like, they don't watch the media, like the traditional media, so much, or at least they can look at different sources rather than the older generations. I'm not sure if an older lady will look on TikTok, because there are a lot of things happening on TikTok as well.
Listen, please agree with me. I think 2022. The online is manipulated as well.
Yeah, of course. But
started to be manipulated.
Yeah, but at least there is, a choice. In a way, at least you have the hope that there are some independent medias that are supported.
How many journalists you think will risk right now in Russia to say what they really think? Or how many public persons will risk, even if they are...
But there will be
some. But this is like... How many million are living in Russia? Do you know that?
Yeah, but I think...
these are like 5,
Yeah, but these 5 have a very big coverage, They have a lot of followers that they can...
Nobody's doing anything. We see on this perfect sentence I can tell you right now. I fell in love when I read it. Before sex, you're helping each other to undress yourself. But after sex, you're dressing only yourself. So once you're fucked, nobody helps each other, And it is so true. Because look at this situation. Nobody's helping Ukraine because they're afraid. Because they are, I don't know, they have their own line of, direction of, of actions. Nobody's helping. I'm looking online and I'm seeing this poor president who is maybe the good president, the bad president, I don't know, but he's like desperately trying to like, listen, listen, please talk to me, listen, please help, and nobody's helping. Literally nobody gives. Maybe they give a shit, but they,
Well, you mean military-wise they don't help? You mean military-wise? Because humanitarian, I see a huge wave of a neighboring country like Poland and Moldova that have huge campaigns now helping people from Ukraine that had time to flee the country. Like from a humanitarian point of view, I think everything is not that bad. At least people are trying to help each other.
This is what I mean, like we are talking like people, like sisters.
Yeah.
And this is what happened, like we are trying to help each other, but we've elected people who are supposed to represent us, and these people who we've voted for, if you have true elections in your countries, because it's not everywhere. Though I think we would be surprised how many elections are manipulated if we would ever find out the truth. But yes, we could talk, I think, hours and hours about this subject. We just wish a lot of maturity to all those who are right now there. Maturity and a good life, so that they live, they build a career, they build a family, and have a newborn. We wish all of them, and we are trying to. Yes, we are trying. I'm trying to be, like not aggressive to any of these parts, because Trump is not America, America is not Trump, Biden is not America, America is not Biden, Putin is not Russia, and Russia is not Putin, and Russia is not even Moscow, and Moscow is not even Russia.
Yeah.
Go and visit these countries sometime. You would fall in love with. I know a lot of people who were like very categoric about Russians, and when they visited that country, they were surprised. Of course, it depends which level of people you can meet there, but you can meet a lot of different levels in different countries, in Italy, in Germany, in Austria, in Switzerland, no matter where. But please go and please be sure to see and to build your own opinion, to be there.
Yeah,
as I always trying to tell you, I try to manipulate you sometimes with my opinion in your decisions, but I think this is very important, to be there and to build your own mind.
And now I think at the end of this episode, I want to circle back a little bit to the beginning, and because we were saying we want to show you the human side of the conflict, and I guess everyone can contribute somehow for it to end, or at least help somehow. I do believe that, because I remember when the conflict just started, there were crazy people in Chisinau, that were starting to rise the prices, the apartment prices, so that they benefit out of it.
Listen, you will grow up. I'm sorry to interrupt you. You will grow up. You will see that there is always an asshole everywhere.
Yeah, of course. But what I'm trying to say is that, yes, that happened. But aside of that, I rarely see people from Moldova grouped together so well. And I've seen there is a huge, I entered and looked, there is a huge Google Doc with a lot of contacts of people that can help. And they're trying to help with anything, be it a shelter, be it food, be it anything. And I think this is, beside the war and strategic and blah, 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 the human side. I think what this situation showed us is that on one hand side, there are two types of people, or three types of people. One that is trying to benefit out of everything. Second, like in a very bad way, like I'll make money out of it. Second type of people is the ones that, I'm far away, I don't care, I don't know, it's not here, I'm not even interested. And I was very disappointed in many people not even showing anything, like, come on, you're living in Europe. Show at least that you acknowledge that this situation happens. And the third type of people, and I'm very proud of them, again, both in Moldova and Poland and in Romania, they're doing this, in Hungary as well, people that are trying to help somehow, anyhow. Because, that they may not have a lot of power and a lot of things to give, but little by little, you can help a huge amount of people.
I don't know if we will ever acknowledge that the power is us and not them.
Yeah, of course, everything starts with you.
This is, I hope someday it will happen, but I'm very...
Maybe.
So, if you need some help, we cannot help with money. Not yet. Not everybody. But if you need some help and you're watching this, please feel free to write us. We will try to help you with any documents you need to translate, to give you some connection, to give you some websites where you can find a shelter or something like that. Or I don't know when this episode is going to launch, but feel free to ask, because we will help for sure.
And remember that on the both sides there are people. It's a person against a person at the battlefield. So yeah, try to look at the other side, get to know both sides, and be kind.
Be kind.
Bye. Bye.